Hi there everybody, my name is Aubrey and I'm an opera singer and a voice coach. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about two different products I've been using over the last 6 months. Let me just put it out there that I bought these products with my own money for my own personal use because I was looking for opportunities to practice more comfortably in my apartment without interrupting the lives of my good neighbors. They're all so lovely and I just don't want to bother them with my constant repetitions of the trouble areas of my music. So in my continuous effort to be a more considerate member of society, I went out to look for voice dampening products. I also got some footage of these two products in action side by side. That footage will be at the end of the video, so if you'd like to go see that footage, that's where that is. Let's start off strong with the Shoutlet. This product is actually billed as a scream therapy pillow, but I was interested by it because it says that it can make a scream become a whisper. And of course, as somebody who sings a lot of high E's and high F's, becoming a whisper is almost too good to be true. So obviously this is not billed for singers, but I was just too curious to pass it up and I wanted to see if their claims were true. So here we have the BeltBox 3.0, and interestingly enough, I actually wanted this product back when it was the 2.0. I was really excited when it came into stock and I bought it as soon as I could because I have been really intrigued. I was even more intrigued when they showed that the 2.0, which covers your nose and a majority of the bottom half of your face, has been changed into this more ergonomic design where it just goes around the mouth. That looked really cool because I would like to be able to use my nose, and this product allows you to do that. I did not plan on making a video about these products because, like I said, I was largely just making these purchases for myself, and as a result, I didn't get any unboxing footage, but hindsight is 2020, and if I ever do something like this in the future, I promise to get that footage for you just for some nice B-roll. But I do still have the original packaging for the BeltBox. And as you can see, it's got this cute little Art Deco, postmodern, jukeboxy kind of vibes to it. And I really think that's cute. It feels really fancy and I think it looks great. It's really strong. So when I opened it, I was like, this is so nice. And it says, take the warm-up room with you. Nice. It also comes with this nice bag that you can put the device in, which was super pleasant. The other thing that it came with was this rather suspicious looking strap, and I remember opening it and I did read about it, so I was prepared, but when I tried to put it on, I honestly really didn't like it. And I think for me, I will probably not use this because it feels really, really constricting. And really, even though this device fits in here, I would find myself putting my hand over it anyways to hold it in place. So for me, this little muzzle doesn't really do what I want it to do. Even though this does technically strap onto your head and hold the device to your face, it's definitely not for me. It might be for you, and I could see some people really liking it, but it just felt really claustrophobic and uncomfortable, and I felt like there was a lot of moisture that would accumulate because I wasn't able to pull it away from the face very often, and yeah, it's all around a no. So this thing has sat in the box ever since I got it. And now for the thing that everybody's here for, the one-to-one comparison. So let's start off with the price. This guy is $29.99 right now online, but when I bought it, it was actually $39.99 and whatever tax and shipping was. So it's a little bit cheaper now. This version that I have says online that the red and the black come with this grommet and a carabiner, which it did. I just find myself taking this carabiner off because this cover is actually machine washable. So because I wash it so often, I just don't really like leaving the carabiner on, and I've taken it off. In comparison, the BeltBox 3.0 is a little bit more expensive, ringing in at $49.99, so about 50 bucks. And although the price difference is kind of big, I actually do find that the increase in price kind of does make sense for this device because of the way it's designed. But back to the Shoutlet really quick. Like I said, this guy is machine washable. So nice. I find myself after a good session unzipping it, pulling it out, and just throwing that cover right into the wash along with everything else. The negative of that is that I do start to see that this pillow being pulled out and put back in is starting to get a little bit of wear and tear. This pillow isn't really well sealed, and it's kind of like a memory foam texture, which if anybody's ever touched those kinds of things before, they almost have this like rubbery outer feeling that can kind of get ripped pretty easily, as you can see probably just from my nails or putting it back in. It's very easy for this thing to get scratched. So over the last 6 months, I've been really, really careful and tried my best to treat it with respect. But when you're taking off the cover and washing it and putting it back on, it's just super easy to tear it or rub it in a way that makes it kind of get a little bit grubby looking. Similarly to the Shoutlet, the BeltBox is really easy to clean as well. You can see that I can pull it apart and put it back really easily. This part is foam and it's super easy to clean. I just use soap and water and it does the job. This guy is kind of a squishy rubber, so same kind of deal, super easy to keep clean. Then you just put it back. Personally, I like to wash both of these devices after every use because it does get a little bit wet and I don't love that sensation. So in an effort to try and prevent anything from growing on it, I do try to keep them as sanitary as physically possible. Luckily, both of these devices are very easy to do that with. When it comes to size, obviously the Shoutlet is a little bit bigger, but the Shoutlet can roll up onto this Velcro strap that it has. Sometimes it does pop out if you don't really seal it well, but for the most part, it stays pretty well, and I can attach that little carabiner and put it onto a backpack, things like that. And I can shake it around a little bit. It crackles a little, but it rarely opens because I have to actually pull pretty hard to finally separate it. So although it is a little bit bigger, when you put it together, it's about maybe twice the height of the BeltBox. So it's not massively larger. With the BeltBox, I find myself keeping it in its little bag because I can close it and put it anywhere I need to, whether it's in a purse or in a backpack, and it's super convenient. It's pretty easy to transport. I have brought both of these with me on vacation and they don't really take up that much room, so you're probably not going to end up having that much of a difficulty with either product in terms of its travelability. I mentioned that the pillow was starting to get a little bit rough around the edges. This guy has not changed since I opened it. I use it all the time, probably 3 to 6 times a week. And this foam insert, although I know I'll eventually need to replace it because it says online that you should when it starts getting torn, this looks really good. I can show you on the inside, it doesn't have any lumps or bumps or any tears or any damage to the foam. So I'm pleasantly surprised by that because I do use it quite regularly. So the next thing is the most important thing, the sound. So with the Shoutlet, it promises that it will make a scream into a whisper, and it certainly does that. I cannot believe how quiet this thing makes you. It's unbelievable, and you'll see that in the video. It really does turn a very full-bodied scream into something of a soft speaking voice. So if you're looking to really cut all the volume from your practice sessions, this guy's for you. But it's really tricky because the thickness of this pillow is almost impossible to breathe through. Not just inhaling, but also exhaling. I am pushing so much air against this pillow, and it is exhausting for my diaphragm. So if you're trying to practice, you might find yourself compensating for that and making bad habits, which is never ideal. The other thing that's tricky about this is that it's up against your face and it's a pillow, so there's really no space for your lips to really move very comfortably, so my diction is really affected. Not just because I can't hear it, but because the pressure upon my face itself adjusts how easy it is for my mouth to even move. And then in conjunction with that, because it's so good at making something quiet, I cannot hear myself very well, which in some ways isn't bad because it does force me to practice singing from my actual physical mechanism and understanding that better. But there are times where I do want to be able to hear myself to adjust pitch in case I need to. So this is really effective at making things very quiet, but it can set you up for some challenges, especially when it comes to breathing and/or pronunciation. So keep that in mind. This guy is not nearly as good at cutting down on the volume, but it's still extremely effective. And the volume it does bring down really makes all the difference for a practice session, at least for me. I feel comfortable using this device in my apartment, and I don't feel like I need the Shoutlet's level of volume reduction. I feel like this is enough for me to still be a reasonable neighbor, and I still can hear a lot. I hear all the things I really need, especially things like pitch and basics of diction. However, of course, this is also up against my mouth, which makes it hard for me to really feel free enough to do things with diction. And although there is a little hole in there for easier breathing, it still feels like I'm breathing through that hole, which is the size of a straw. So keep that in mind. It's not perfect, but it does allow me a little bit more control over my practice, and it doesn't feel nearly as limiting and claustrophobic as the pillow does. I do find myself, just like with the pillow, struggling to take enough air. Both of these devices, I don't get enough airflow through my nose, so I do find myself pulling them away from my face in order to get a better breath. So although this one being shaped to allow your nose is a valiant effort, I just find myself liking breathing through my mouth. If you're not a person who breathes a lot through your mouth, then perhaps it doesn't matter to you, but if you are a person who regularly breathes through your open mouth, both of these devices might make you feel a little uncomfortable until you figure out a system that works well for you. So I said earlier that this device is slightly more ergonomic, but just like the Shoutlet, it still is just a tool for your practice sessions. This doesn't replace how it feels to sing full voice in a space. And I do find that if I were to only practice with one of these devices, I would definitely start picking up habits that were me counteracting some of the negative qualities of these devices, and eventually probably developing habits that would reflect those choices, which means when you use these devices, you always need to make sure you do check with yourself in a full space and sing full voice without any device over your face to make sure all of your technique is still kind of sitting where you want it to be. I just really wanted to put that out there as a disclaimer. I think they're an amazing tool and so useful for those of us who live in apartments, but it doesn't replace the need for us to use full voice in a space that allows us to do so comfortably. So my final thoughts. Both of these devices are really cool, and I use both of them, largely for different reasons, but I'm definitely not getting rid of either of them. I like them. I think they both serve different purposes and do those things really well. I think you guys can guess based on the comparison which one I would prefer to use, which is the BeltBox 3.0, but there are definitely times where I need to be singing super, super loudly and really, really quietly, and this thing allows me to do that in a way that this one just doesn't. You can definitely see that this was not made for singers and this one was, but I don't think that negates the fact that you can utilize this one for specific things if you ever need to. That being said, I use this bad boy all the time. I think it's super useful and it allows me to feel like I'm not losing momentum when I'm practicing, just in case I need to be practicing in a smaller space or a quieter space. So if you're one of those people who feels uncomfortable in your space, or you're in a space that's not really appropriate for practicing your singing techniques, something like this might not be a bad thing. Although it's more expensive, and it definitely kept me from purchasing it for a while because of how much it cost, I think it's made its money back to me in terms of how useful it's been. So if you're a little bit nervous about it, hopefully this video can tell you a little bit about both of these products and to give you an opportunity to make a decision that's based on more than just what websites tell you. Again, I am not being sponsored by these products. I am not making any money from these products. I got them just for myself. If you're looking to support me, feel free to join me over on Lesson Face where I teach, or like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, because that helps my video do better. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and remember, never give up on your goals and to keep on singing. Let's try the first one. Okay. Ready to try it out? was probably too loud.
So what's so quiet? It's hard to breathe in that one. Ooh, it's hard to breathe. And it's like a lot of pressure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm like pushing through a lot of resistance. So I'm like it's really tricky.
Because the air is not.
It's not going through. Yeah, so it's really quiet. But I am working so much harder to push air
So
through.
maybe that's good for the training.
Could be, but at the same time, it also feels like it's a not accurate practice experience.
Have to hear it.
Yeah, it's also hard to hear. So let's try that.
Okay, so go for it.
Yeah. So